the unprecedented tragedy that Wayanad of Kerala, a section of Kerala distinguished for its scenic beauty, has witnessed in the last 3 days, has sent shock waves through the country, and concerns have been expressed, solidarity with the suffering people expressed by people all over the world, including President Joe Biden of the United States of America. Foreign news channels have been covering this event with the attention that it deserves. In living memory, a natural disaster of this kind has not happened. The attention now is focused almost entirely on relief and rescue, relief and rehabilitation, as it should be. The media coverage tries to bring home to every person at a distance the magnitude of the tragedy, the human aspect of the tragedy, the plight of the affected people, as well as the attempts, the well-meaning attempts being made by the government, various agencies, as well as individuals, including the local people, to mitigate human suffering and to help the people in need to the extent possible. I wish I were younger and I could go and participate in the relief work in person, but since I can't do it, all I can do is to share with you some of my reflections on this most heartbreaking event, the exact nature of which is hard to describe or to quantify. In fact, communities have been wiped out. The whole region looks as though it had no human habitation before. And people who lived there for decades, now going back to that region, find it hard to believe that that was where they lived. I mean to say, those who have been lucky to survive the event. What I want to share with you is some basic thought about whether or not this tragedy could have been averted. Now, I do recognize, and I admit it forthwith, that it's always easy to take a stand in hindsight. Human nature is such that even if a calamity of extreme magnitude is predicted in advance, people will not take it seriously. People only react. They don't act, they only react. So once the tragedy descends upon us, we all wake up from our indifference and our slumber, and then begin to say this, that and the other. Now, my line of thought here is that this tragedy could have been to a large extent avoided. In the year 2011, August of 2011, an empowered expert committee headed by Professor Madhav Gadgil submitted a detailed report to the central government on the feasibility, the ecological safety or lack of safety of the Western Ghat as a whole, and identified areas of extreme sensitivity to disasters of this kind. He classified the area into 3 categories: most sensitive, medium sensitivity, and comparatively safe. And the area now affected, area now devastated, was identified clearly way back in 2011 as an area of high sensitivity and maximum risk. Yet, nothing was done about it. Not only that, I regret to say that the Catholic Church was at the forefront trying to denounce the Gadgil Committee report as an anti-people conspiracy, and an enlightened politician belonged to the Congress party, namely P.T. Thomas, who understood the danger that was lurking to break upon the people and take their life. When he tried to advocate the need to take the findings of the committee as recorded in the report seriously and to initiate follow-up action, the church went after him hammer and tongue. And the meetings that he conducted to spread awareness about the problems among the people in this region were all disrupted. Physical violence was used in the process, and in order to add insult to injury, the Roman Catholic Church of the Syro-Malabar Rite began to organize funeral rites for the living P.T. Thomas, admirably led by 5-6 senior priests in their cassocks. Now, what I want to suggest is this. The priests who were involved, or the church as a whole, the priests could not have done it as a private enterprise. The church was fully behind this absolutely retrograde step. The priests incited the common people, the commoners, to believe that their land will be taken away from them, that their livelihood will be lost. All that was a completely fabricated lie. The priest did not bother to read the committee report. Then why did they instigate the people? Why did they try to disrupt the well-meaning effort of a politician? Why did they try to protect the ongoing denuding of this sensitive area, aggravating the risks to the people, using the very same people who are endangered in the process? The reason is very simple. As always, the church has a hidden illicit relationship with the power and money lobby. The quarries that are operating in this region, which are a serious threat to the ecological balance and the integrity of nature in this region, are all run by influential politicians. The resorts are done by entrepreneurs, covetous people who want to make a quick buck, risking the lives of as many people as they don't care how many people are actually affected. So I regret to say that the church chose to stand with the greedy, the covetous, the predators and the marauders, risking the life of these people. There is blood on the face of the church through this event, and I don't want to hide this truth in spite of the fact that I am sitting and reflecting in the context of a vast human tragedy. I feel it is right and legitimate to highlight this aspect, because when we think about a tragedy, we must also wonder who contributed to it. And we must also ask a further question, how such future tragedies may be averted, if at all. Is there not a duty on the part of the state, as well as all people concerned in the region, to act according to the best scientific knowledge and advice made available to them? Or is it the duty of the church to instigate the people to go against sensible, rational advice, and to do so from a state of comparative security, knowing that if at all calamities break out, as in this case, none of the people who advocate the limitless exploitation of nature through these predatory activities that I have already referred to, none of these people will be affected, and the people who will have to pay with their life for it are the poor people who have nothing to do with it, who don't gain a rupee out of all these anti-nature activities. So I think there is a criminal involvement of the church in this, particularly the priestly class, because all through history, it's not one or two events, all through history what I have seen, all through history of the church has always been on the side of the exploiters, side of the rich, the moneyed class, the covetous, the greedy, and the people who are utterly insensitive not only to the welfare of others, but even to the right of other people to survive. Now, this is something inexcusable, and this is the right time for everyone, not merely Christians, everyone to become aware of this. And this is a problem that is common to all religions. If there is a choice between the rich and the poor, the keepers of all religions will always stand with the rich. If there is a choice between mega wealth for the already wealthy and life security for the poor and the struggling sections of the society, these people will always stand with the greed and covetousness of the already mega rich. And yet, most disgustingly, God is invoked in all of this. It's all being done in the name of God. So I think there is a serious problem, and the people of Kerala need to wake up to this reality that those who present themselves as custodians of religion and therefore committed to serve the interests of the people on behalf of God, none other than God, are actually in an unholy alliance with these anti-people, anti-life, anti-nature predators for what peanuts they can gain out of it. But there is another issue I want to highlight, and that's the one thing that I want to pay more attention to and lay greater emphasis on. That is, a far greater tragedy could overtake Kerala anytime. That relates to a very major dam called the Mullaperiyar Dam, which is situated in the Idukki district of Kerala, not far from the present site of the tragedy, and it's at a bare distance of 150 kilometers from Cochin, which is a commercial capital of Kerala. And a world study which studied dams that are in a somewhat precarious state pointed out that if anything were to happen to this dam, not less than 3 million people will be affected. That will be 1,000 times more than the people affected through this Wayanad tragedy. The whole of the northern region of Kerala, right down to Cochin and Cochin metropolis included, will be wiped out. I am not pressing the panic button, I am just referring to a study that was conducted globally, a much respected study. And that study also pointed out that the Mullaperiyar Dam can withstand seismic shocks or earthquakes only up to the magnitude of 6 on the Richter scale. Now, 6 on the Richter scale is not very high. In fact, a few years ago, an earthquake of 4 on the Richter scale was experienced by this region. Fortunately, the dam held. Now, this dam was constructed way back between 1885 and 1995, if my memory serves me right. And the technology and material used for the construction of dam is actually out of date. It is archaic. This dam is not constructed according to the most scientific methods and using the best or strong material which would be used today if the dam were to be constructed. The dam stands, I think, at a height of about 176 feet, and the water level is allowed to rise up to 145 feet. But twice in recent times, because of excessive rain, the water level in Mullaperiyar Dam reached the top maximum permissible limit. Now imagine a dam as old as this, constructed out of what today would be considered unsuitable material, being made to bear this kind of load, a dam which is apparently not in very good maintenance, and about the feasibility of which there are real concerns, though these concerns are kept muted. And a dam which holds nightmarish prospects if anything were to happen to the dam, to a population as large as some 3 million, how can this issue be taken lightly? How can we sleep over this? I am glad to say that the Supreme Court of India is active in this regard. Various commissions have been, Justice A.S. Anand Commission was appointed, and it suggested certain measures. An empowered committee was formed. Later on, Justice K.T. Thomas, retired judge of the Supreme Court, a very able man, became the chief of a committee and all that. But in the light of this tragedy which has rattled all Keralites, whether they are residing in Kerala or anywhere else, I think this Mullaperiyar issue has assumed unprecedented significance, or it merits to deserve unprecedented significance. Though I do not hear many references being made to it, I think it's the right time to raise that issue, because everything needs to be done that can avert nightmarish implications for very survival of a people. Now, the total population of Kerala is only 38 million people. The total population of India is about 35 to 37 million people. We don't know the exact count now because the census enumeration has been delayed. It should have happened in 2021. Now we are already into 2024. So let's assume that it is 37 million or 3.7 crores. Of that, 3 million people are likely to be affected. If, for example, an earthquake of 6 on the Richter scale were to happen in this region, which would seriously jeopardize the safety of the dam, and the dam could burst or whatever, with unthinkable consequences. So attention needs to be paid. The reason why attention is not being paid, I can understand that, and I am in sympathy with it. It's an expensive, prohibitively, dauntingly expensive task. Dams are not easy things to handle. They require huge amounts of investment. Kerala is not in a position to do so, nor is Tamil Nadu, nor is the centre. So days are just allowed to go on and on, all in good faith, hoping that the old dam will hold and that nature will be kind to us and withhold its fury as far as the dam site is concerned, that no earthquake would take place or no heavy rain and sudden rise in the water levels would jeopardize the dam and so on and so on. Anyway, the point I am making is that somehow it is not in our culture to resort to prophylactic action meant to avert a tragedy that is likely to happen. We are very good at scrambling up after the tragedy has happened to intervene with a kind of characteristic sentimental intensity and bestir ourselves in bringing relief to the survivors. Of course, the dead are gone, nothing can be done about it. And then we become very sentimental, very emotional, we become very nice people, whereas we never ask the question, could this tragedy have been averted? If the tragedy was not averted, being told that it was likely to happen, then who is to blame? Responsibility has to be fixed. The weakness in our culture is lack of accountability, and that has to change. Somebody has to answer for it. The loss of nearly 300 lives and another 300 are reportedly missing, 285 to be precise, another over 200 reported missing, and actually even that count may be inaccurate because there were many laborers working in the tea estates, living in crowded, substandard, subhuman accommodations called padis, very subhuman accommodation. And there is no account of the people who lived there and how many paddies were there, how many people were living there. There is absolutely no account. So only after all these things are taken into account would we really know the extent of loss of life caused by this unprecedented disaster. I want to thank everyone who is in solidarity with the people who are suffering. I want to thank all those who have made generous donations to bring relief to the people. Far more contributions would be required because so many houses have been washed away. They all have to be rebuilt, rehabilitating the survivors, numbering already some 8,000 people are in refugee camps. They have no homes to return to. They all have to be rehabilitated. So I wish to thank everyone, and I note with particular satisfaction that Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi came all the way from Delhi to be in solidarity with the people who are affected by this disaster, and they reached yesterday. They're planning to spend the whole of today meeting with the people, planning relief work, etc. That kind of solidarity with the suffering people is commendable. After all, Rahul Gandhi and his sister are not in easy circumstances of life. They are extremely busy. The parliament is in session. That notwithstanding, to show this degree of solidarity with the people in trouble, I think is highly commendable. I hope no ulterior motive is attached to it. And though I didn't want to mention this, I still have to say that one of the responses I came across in the comment box of a Temple of Thoughts, you can make a guess as to who would have written that, is that Wayanad has suffered this tragedy because it elected Rahul Gandhi to the Parliament of India. That is the level to which mean-minded politics can make people stoop. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw these words in the comment box. I rubbed my eyes, I looked at it again and again, it's there. It is written by the defender of a particular party. See the level of degradation and depravity induced by party loyalties. How far you can poison your own humanity when you're mad with party loyalties. I don't know what's happening to our humanity. If a human mind can harbor such thoughts, and if it's a loyalty to a particular party that induces this depravity to a human mind, I have no hesitation to say that that kind of politics is not acceptable. It merits universal condemnation. So anyway, I didn't want to make a mention of this, but what can I do? These things keep boiling over. Anyway, my only submission is this: each one of us must hold ourselves responsible for the health and integrity of nature. Though this is not an occasion for mention this, let me also say this. I try to do what little I can by way of respecting the integrity of nature, integrity of creation. I lead the simplest of life you can imagine. I invite you to come live with me for a day and see for yourself. I have a very old car which I use only if I cannot walk or travel by bus. If I am healthy enough, if I have the time, I walk to my destination or I go by bus. Only when it is absolutely essential, I cannot manage otherwise, that I use my car. So the maximum consumption of petrol on my part is 20 liters per month. That's the extent to which I use my car. I do not open my water tap fully. I open it to a quarter of its capacity because that much water is more than enough to wash my face or brush my teeth, etc. To avoid wasting water, I have more or less abolished the usage of paper. I do all my work in a paperless manner. I try to conserve as much as I can. Also, I have done enough or as much work as I could to green my compound. If you were to come and look at my the little patch of land around my house, you will see that it's strikingly green. In fact, the identification mark of my house in this region is people refer to my house as the greenhouse. Because that's a little contribution that I can make to reducing the carbon levels. It's nothing much. You may say it's laughably small. Yes, it's small. But that's all I can do. I must do what little I can. Each one of us must do what we can. Even a small little thing will finally add up to a great thing, because my irresponsibility is affecting not only me, it's affecting you, it's affecting somebody far away from me. As we all know, if there are no rains in the Amazon, people in Africa will not have drinking water. That's how interconnected this whole global system is. So when I design my way of life, when I choose my lifestyle, I must have some regard for you. I must not go entirely by my convenience or comfort. I must have some thought for you. That's what I learned from Jesus Christ. He said, do to others what you would that they should do to you. Treat the other person as you would treat yourself. I don't want to be subjected to disasters. Neither do I want you to be subjected to disasters. Therefore, I must design my lifestyle in a manner that my lifestyle, my way of life does not contribute to your calamities. That's what I call sane existence. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for enduring this very painful reflection. And I pray that there may be an end to the suffering of the people affected by this huge, unspeakable disaster. And I thank everyone who is acting so valiantly, incredibly hard to bring relief to the people who are suffering. Jai Hind.